This is TV's News at 7. The rise in insecurity in the country is still a major cause of concern in all parts. The southeast has also had a share of attacks and abductions, and this has brought Governor Hope Uzodinma to the presidential villa. Governor Uzodinma met with President Buhari to discuss the spate of insecurity in Imo State and the recent clash between the military and bandits in Olu. The governor says the unrest has been brought under control. We have details in this report.
The Imo State governor met President Muhammadu Buhari to brief him on the progress of work on two federal roads, the Owerri-Olu Road and the Owerri-Okigwe Road. But the meeting between these two centered on the security situation in his state, where security operatives clashed with bandits in Ihioma community in Olu local government. But there are viral videos of the violent clash in Olu that accuses the army of extrajudicial killings. Despite conflicting reports of the incident that has triggered an online trending of #OluIsBleeding, the governor insists these attacks are sponsored by people desperate to grab power.
I just use this medium to call on Nigerian politicians to play politics without bitterness and stop letting blood here and there in the name of looking for power. If I am no longer in doubt as to who are the sponsors of banditry in Nigeria.
Governor Hope Uzodinma says the attack on an INEC registration center a few days ago was an afterthought by the criminals whose plans to attack a correctional center in Okigwe was scuttled.
The bandits approaching Okigwe saw how fortified the place was, and they now tried to escape through Ituboma, and they ran into INEC people where they were doing continuous voter registration, and out of that anger and frustration attacked them. You must have heard that yesterday 2 of the bandits have been arrested.
On the sideline of his interaction with State House correspondents in the presidential villa, the Imo State governor reacted to suggestions by revered lawyer Afe Babalola calling for the suspension of the 2023 general election and an establishment of an interim national government to chart a new course for Nigeria.
By May 29th, if there is no elected government, our constitution has not provided for an interregnum. You shouldn't give a gap. Otherwise, you are creating room for anarchy. And what will be the process for selecting the interim government? Because after May 29, the president may not have constitutional powers to function as a president.
Some parts of the southeast have been on the edge and living in the fear of terror unleashed by gunmen on rampage. The recent reinforcement of security forces in the region has led to constant clashes between the gunmen and the military. For now, reports suggest the situation remains volatile. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
More controversies continue to emerge in the scandal involving pupils of Christian schools. The police have invited the parties involved in the minor sex scandal during their trip to Dubai. Spokesperson of the Lagos State Police Command, Benjamin Uday, confirmed that all parties involved have been contacted, but he could not immediately establish if the invited persons had reported to the State Criminal Investigation Department committee at the time of this report. The Lagos Police Command has promised to thoroughly investigate the alarm raised by a mother in a viral video, but Christian Scopes has denied the allegations that the 10-year-old was raped. Senior correspondent Ivy Kanu reports.
Nigerians spoke up to a rather disturbing video of a mother who claimed her 10-year-old daughter, a student of Christland School, was raped by her mates.
He said, when it happened, I said, sir, what happened? He said, Julian did not tell you. I said, no, Julian did not.
She further accused the management of the school of concealing the alleged rape, which was recorded. But rather than report to her, they took her daughter for pregnancy test.
Father knowing, and lied to her that they were taking her for COVID test. They took her almost 3 times for COVID test. Please, is it possible? Do they use blood sample for COVID test? Do they use urine for COVID test?
The frenzy of this video has gone viral on social media, prompting the Lagos State government to immediately shut down all Christian schools in the state. This is to avoid a repeat of the Dowen College saga where protesters flooded the entrance of the school. Seeing the uproar the mother's video has generated, the police say there was no way they were going to wait for an official complaint.
Invitation has been sent out to all the parties involved in the case, and investigation has commenced in earnest.
Many are also worried about the jurisdiction of the act by the minors committed in Dubai.
It depends on the outcome of investigation. We might have to involve the Interpol. They have a global jurisdiction, so in any case, we would make sure justice is served.
According to reports, the video recordings of the acts involving the students has over 1 million views on social media, bringing to question the morality of those who have been sharing the videos.
It is the failure of the parents, it is the failure of the society, of the government, and the church cannot be absolved from the blame.
Everywhere you turn to, you see sexual immorality being advertised on every side. So instead of casting blame on anybody, I would say it is rather a challenge to society.
It shows that the parents have so much to do. Yes, the school has the responsibility to educate these children, but what they are building will be upon the foundation that has been laid by parents.
Meanwhile, in a statement by the school signed by a member of the advisory board, Akin Fadeye, the school denied the allegation that a 10-year-old primary 6 student was raped. Ivy Kano. TVC News, Lagos.
In the meantime, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Akali Baba, has confirmed the appointment of CSP Olumuyiwa Adejobi as the 25th Indigenous Force Public Relations Officer. CSP Adejobi was appointed in acting capacity on the 16th February 2022 after taking over from CP Frankumba, who was nominated by the Inspector General of Police for the senior executive course at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies in Jos. He has a long stint as Police Public Relations Officer in Ogun State Police Command from 2008 to 2016. He also served as PPRO Zone 2 Headquarters Onikon, Lagos in 2016 and PPRO Lagos State Police Command between September 2020 and August 2021 when he was posted to deputize the former Force PRO. And now to issues of election violence. More than 1,149 persons, including employees of the Independent National Electoral Commission and security officers, have been killed during elections held in 2011, 2015, and 2019. INEC also lost at least 9,836 smart card readers and more than 42 attacks on its offices and staff in 3 years, including ballot papers, cubicles, and other materials. Last Friday's murder of an INEC worker identified as Anthony Nwokore by gunmen while conducting the continuous voter registration in the Ihete-Ubama local government area of Imo State brings to fore the level of insecurity INEC officials are exposed to in the line of duty. Following the violent assaults on its assets and staff, the electoral body has now expressed fears over the 2023 election, stating that there would be no results at polling units where violent incidents were orchestrated. The Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini, earlier today featured on TVC This Morning, where he said the future of Nigeria's democracy lies in the hands of the people.
In the final analysis, it's our vote, the vote of the people, that will determine the kind of democracy that you want. Because there are 3 broad categories of what your vote can determine with respect to democracy. 1, are we taking election as an end in itself, in which case every 4 years we queue up to vote and that's the end? That type of election is what can be described by Scupita as elite democracy. 2, you can use your vote to determine a democracy where election becomes only a means to an end and not an end itself. And what is that end? It is development. The 3rd one is what Karl Popper described as election. That merely conducted only useful for the purpose of reconciling elite differences, to transfer power among themselves, and perhaps to avoid war. But for us in Nigeria, and from what we have seen around the world, election is a means, should be a means towards development. So in doing so, it should be noted that ethnicity, religion, will not put food on the table of Nigerians.
Mike again, a resident electoral commissioner, Akwa Ibom there. Now let's turn to the head of election program, Yega Africa, Paul James, who joins me live from Abuja. Over 1,000 people killed in the past 3 general elections, millions of naira worth of structure and materials destroyed in the process. But would you say that we're experiencing anything different right now from what we've experienced in the past that could in any way threaten the 2023 general election?
Well, I think it is sad and very unfortunate that INEC now is becoming the object of attacks. And if you go back from the 2019 election to now, that is 3 years back from now, INEC offices have been attacked, or INEC installations have been attacked in over 10 states. More than 21 INEC offices, INEC materials have been attacked. What then is election violence? We said any threat or act of violence directed at individuals or materials that are involved in the electoral process, which are done to undermine the process. And so, of course, we are beginning to see that. And then the concern is that as we are heading towards the 2023 election, this could affect citizens' confidence in participating in the process, and most especially also, even on the part of INEC, to effectively execute the elections come 2023. If you think of this also in terms of the economic waste that has been happening, the cost of election, this will definitely affect the cost of election as we head into the next cycle of elections. And so I am very concerned, looking down that we have just less than 300 days until the election, that this is happening now. If this is not checked, if this is not stopped before the next cycle of election, it will definitely affect citizens' participation in the process. We're likely going to see voter apathy in that election. So, of course, I am very hopeful that the bodies responsible, especially the security agencies, will try to nip these challenges in the bud so we can help, that can help to build confidence and increase participation in the process.
Has there been a track record of prosecuting individuals who have been caught in the process, particularly those who have been involved in electoral violence in previous elections?
Sadly, there is none that I know of, especially in the last 3 years since the 2019 election. Nobody has been prosecuted for all of this violence, and perhaps that is why these bad elements are becoming emboldened. But then my appeal to them is there are a lot of ways people can express their grievances. There are a lot of ways people can choose whether to participate or not to participate in the process. People may have legitimate reasons according to them why they are doing this. They may have legitimate reasons for their own agitations. I have no worries, no concerns with that, but not when it is rubbing off on our democracy and then the progress of our own electoral democracy, as it were. The biggest concern, like we have all noted, is that nobody has been punished for this. Imagine what happened in Imo. Nobody, as we speak, has been apprehended. Nobody had been punished for that. Go back to what happened in Enugu, for instance, also last year, when INEC offices were attacked. I have not heard of any arrest. I have not heard of any reprimand. I mean, that anybody has been prosecuted or has been punished for this. So until we begin to see this, we know this. People know them. These are people from the community. They are not aliens. They are people that, of course, are living with some of them in this neighborhood that we can, it's just to cooperate with the relevant authorities to assist them in fishing out these people and ensure that the full wrath of the law, that they are, I mean, they face the full wrath of the law so it can serve as deterrent to others.
The Imo State governor visited President Buhari earlier, and he did mention that 2 of the bandits have been arrested in Imo. aftermath the recent attack on INEC officials conducting continuous voter education. Well, I'd like you to talk to us about the thin line between having security agencies, man-polling units, and the fear of militarizing elections. We've seen a lot of active involvement of security personnel in previous elections. Has that really resulted into adequate security, and how much confidence is it bringing to the electorate?
I think there has been so much of theorizing, so much of reflection. We want to see a movement from reflection to action, from all of these meetings to action. A lot of security mappings have been done quite okay, but then where is the action is what people are asking about. And so until, like I said, we begin to see punishment, we begin to see that these people are fished out and they face the full wrath of the law, these things will continue. It is very unfortunate that it is our electoral processes that is being attacked now. And then what happens to, I mean, you know also how everything revolves around it. If you think about democracy, if you think about also development, all of this revolves around having a good election and a good electoral process. So I'm very worried that if this is not checked now, it's going to rub off on other aspects of our own development.
Security, they say, is everyone's business. We're looking forward to more active participation of the people as well in providing quality intel to security agencies. Paul James, Yega Africa, thank you for talking to us tonight. And thanks for staying with us. Members of the All Progressives Congress in Osun State say the re-election of Governor Adegboyega Oyetola in July will boost the chance of the party at the general election. This is just as the state chairman of the party, Boyega Famodo, believes the party is now more united and stronger ever than before it won the July 16th governorship election. Rafiu Hamid reports.
It's less than 90 days to the Osun State governorship election, and support for the re-election bid of the incumbent, Adegboyega Oyetola, continues in different parts of the state. Aside from state secretariat of the APC, several places are adorned with campaign posters of the governor and various aspirants seeking elective offices. Rallies are now organized to encourage the electorate, and particularly the youths in the state, to actively play their roles. Addressing journalists in Osogbo, a member of the party, Ibrahim Kayode, says the achievements of the incumbent in the last 3.5 years, despite paucity of funds, cannot be underestimated.
I'm very, very confident that our dear Governor Isaac Agboyega Oyetola, is going to be returned for the second time, by special grace of God. The good deed of the governor will speak for him. In the history of Osun State, we have been the first productive governor in Osun State.
He also tasked the youths in the state to actively participate in the forthcoming election, not only by seeking elective offices, but by first exercising their franchise on the 16th of July 2022 to elect Governor Adegboyega Oyetola for another 4-year term. Thereafter, they moved around some major streets in Osogbo and converged on St. Michael's Grammar School, Agowande.
The APC is a good party, most especially in Osun State. Oyetola is performing, is working assiduously.
In an interview with the state chairman of the APC, Boyega Famodo, he says machineries have been put in place to ensure victory of the party at the polls.
Imagine the level of our preparation and the level of preparation of the opposition. Seriousness is shown within our party, discipline is shown within our party, and all our processes are so simple and understandable, unlike what the opposition party had. And the people are there, Osun State people, they are civilized people. They can make their judgment between the two major parties.
More rallies in support of the governor are expected in the state in the days ahead. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Osogbo.
In other news, an early morning fire has razed the house of former Ondo Assembly Speaker Taufik Abdulsalam in Akure. The inferno, which was caused by fire from a generating set, affected parts of the building. Many electrical appliances were affected in the building, and residents of the area came out to assist in putting out the fire. The State Commissioner for Works, Raimi Aminu, also directed officials of the State Fire Service to contain the fire.
We were all inside this morning after sorrow, and Madame was downstairs trying to do some work. All of a sudden, just heard a loud bang, and I was wondering what would be until the people in the next compound were shouting, "Move the vehicle, move this, move it," and by then we were down. There was fire. I think because we have 2 generators here, I think what happened was that probably it got sparked. I don't know, but we just know that there was fire here. Before we know what's happening, everywhere got that burning.
We are in the mosque this morning because when we pray finish, we used to do some prayer. So we just hear the sound. Bow. What is happening? Because we are the next neighbor to this building. So before we look up, we have started seeing fire. Small. So everybody was running, what is happening? Because we have car beside this building. Just tried to drive the car out. Came here also, the fire has become something big. It's not something small at all. So we try our best just to carry the cars out first and to pack all the gas in the environment.
Climate and energy experts are advocating for policies that will address issues of energy governance. They're hoping this will result in decentralized energy systems that are socially driven and promote community energy in off-grid, mini-grid, and standalone systems. Helen Osamide-Akins has details.
Access to sustainable energy is crucial in addressing material and structural poverty. Sub-Saharan Africa has the highest concentration of people without access to energy. The International Energy Agency 2019 report reveals that around 580 million in the region, roughly 75% worldwide, have no electricity. And a staggering 80% of the population lack access to modern energy and rely on biomass products such as wood, charcoal, and dung to cook. In Nigeria, less than 30% of the 200 million population have access to uninterrupted electricity based on the national grid system. This situation leaves room for redundant efforts. Experts believe the country's policy on renewable energy does not address the needs of local communities. Today, these climate and energy experts have come up with a project, Renewable Energy Initiative, to equip CSOs with skills, knowledge and tools to engage stakeholders in renewable energy policy, development and programs for local communities.
You cannot resolve these problems without a party that is uninterested coming in to ensure that the decision-making and the policy development processes integrate the concerns of these populations.
We are campaigning for clean energy for 2 reasons. That's the only energy system, if it is decentralized, can meet the people, even isolated communities. Again, that's the only energy that has a future.
The call for collaborative efforts with citizens in making decisions involving their communities towards achieving renewable energy.
We must work as citizens to ensure that the beckoning energy colonialism through dumping of renewable energy gadgets on Africa, on Nigeria, must be challenged.
The project will strengthen the role of CSOs in promoting and implementing sustainable energy, transition initiatives, and renewable energy-related communities in 5 African countries, including Nigeria. Helen Osamide-Akins, TVC News, Abuja.
While most Nigerians seem to be moving on after the COVID-19 lockdown, the government has urged to adopt new communication approaches and ensure equitable distribution of palliatives in rural communities in the event of other health emergencies. The Lagos Urban Studies Group, in partnership with the Nigerian Slum and Former Settlement Federation, came up with this in a report on how the COVID-19 pandemic impacted on lives and livelihood in slums across Lagos. Sarah Yeko reports.
Following weeks and months of engagement in various slum communities, the Lagos Urban Studies Group, an interdisciplinary research team comprising of those in the academia, civil society organizations and government actors, has challenged the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, questioning the risk communication approach, investments in basic health facilities, and distribution of relief materials in hard-to-reach communities during the 2020 lockdown. The study seeks to ascertain the socio-economic conditions, health behavior of slum dwellers, and how the dearth of basic amenities informed the propagation of various conspiracy theories in rural communities.
So essentially, we wanted to know these people, where they live, their condition, and how their situation could intensify the impact of COVID-19.
We have found out that there was poor knowledge of COVID-19. They saw it like any other disease. And so if there was a major outbreak, we would have had real crisis to deal with, health crisis in this community.
Findings from the study reveal that people who live in slums do not have access to decent and quality housing and generally cannot access basic services such as water and sanitation, indicating 61.5% rely on trucks and water carriers and vendors.
In the time of this COVID-19, the government did not attend to us at all. During this time around, if they see fit, they can assist those of us. We are ready to accept that.
In one of the communities under review, portable water is a mirage. On a trip around the Ajegunle community, you see that water is gold. Tanks and containers are on the lock and key.
We have been begging them to connect us from that water from my 12 here to this community. But no.
We have only one road in this Ajegunle. That's Zion Street. Only that. After that one, people are suffering.
While the stakeholders are appreciative of government intervention, the decades-long challenges still persist.
There should be synergy in planning between government and the people, and they should train the people so that they know how to communicate the real issues, how to communicate the symptoms of COVID. And this is very critical anytime there are emergencies and disasters.
The popularity of the word coronavirus may have dwindled in slum communities and urban centers. The pandemic has, however, exposed the dearth of basic amenities in these slum communities, one of which is access to potable water. These communities are hoping that the government of the day will sit to their need and provide one major thing, which is wash facilities. Sarah Yeku, TVC News, Lagos.
Community leaders in Ilawe Ekiti have appealed to the state and federal government to help revive the banana market in the town, which has the potential to contribute more than $50 million annually to the coffers of government and by extension improve economic fortune of the state. The submission was made at the press briefing in Ilawe Ekiti. TVC's Ayomide Ajegbe has details and will return with business news.
Ilawe Kingdom is home to prominent sons and daughters in Nigeria, and the king of the town was immediate past chairman of the Traditional Rulers Council in the state. However, there is an untapped wealth in the town. This is according to community leaders at a press briefing marking the 10th year coronation of the Alawe of Ilawe. They are calling on government, private companies and business investors to resuscitate the banana processing company, which was already at 30% completion in 2012.
300 million banana processing industry is going to be launched because we thought we could go, we can get foreign investors to partner with Ilawe. We have been doing this, we have been agitating for this since the inception of the civil rule in Ekiti.
It should be recalled that Nigerian Export Promotion Council, APC, in a 2019 research discovered that over 3 million bunches of banana were traded annually in Ilawe Ekiti.
We commissioned, even we went to Firo, commissioned them, consultancy that they should give us a feasibility studies, which we did. And we thought we could handle it, but the community, the bill they gave us was too high for Ilawe community alone to handle.
Elsewhere, a son of Iloro Ekiti, Dr. Malay has provided educational aids and cash prizes for 45 outstanding students in his community from all secondary schools in the town. This is to further promote academic excellence and encourage outstanding performances.
What we are doing here today is to promote education. It's for us to give whatever, we think we can do to sustain education. We must keep our students in the class and we must continue to encourage them. So this is one of the ways we think we can promote education in our society and to promote competency and capability, which this is the hallmark of how we came up with the names of the people you can see here today.
The occasion was attended by royal fathers, political leaders, community leaders, as well as sons and daughters of the town. Ayomide Ajegbe, TVC News, Ado-Ekiti.
Well, some business news now. The president of the World Bank Group, Mr. David Malpass, has lamented the impact of rising food and energy costs across the world, urging Nigeria and other developing countries to adjust policies to boost supply. Speaking at the ongoing 2022 IMF World Bank Spring Meetings, which opened in Washington, D.C., United States of America, Mr. Malpass says he is deeply concerned about the developing countries, adding that they are facing sudden price increases in energy, fertilizer and food, and the likelihood of increases in interest rates. The World Bank herdsmen noted that rising inflation is causing immense strain on the global economy, especially among poor nations, hereby calling on central banks to use more tools on the current policies to bridge the inequality gap, which has widened materially, and wealth and income concentrating in narrow segments of the global population. We're worried about the rising inflationary trend, particularly the food component in Nigeria. Economic analysts have urged the federal government to fast-track its measures in tackling security issues that have continued to plague the agricultural commodity space, especially in the northern part of the country. Speaking earlier today on TVC News' flagship business program, Business Nigeria, the Director of Research and Strategy at Chapel Hill, Denham, Mr. Tajuddin Ibrahim, posited that the uptick recorded in the recently released inflation figure of 15.92% in the month of March is as a result of unresolved macroeconomic fundamentals.
We already believed that in the month of February, the inflation number that we saw at that point in time was not fully reflecting the impact of the shortage in the supply of petrol to the huge population of this country. So the March number is a reflection of what really was happening in terms of the shortage of petrol supply, and also the increases that we saw in the prices of gas due to local supply issues that came on the back of global disruptions to supplies given the war between Russia and Ukraine. The uptick that we saw in the month of March is an early sign of what we may see in the coming months in terms of food inflation, and it indicates that the government should do the necessary things, take the necessary steps to ensure that we have increase in output.
Well, moving on, as part of efforts to support the country's food security efforts, seeds of various grains are being given to locals across the country. The masterminds of the movement are hoping it will help address issues of hunger and poverty, particularly in rural areas. Lara Folayo has a report.
This gathering, which includes traditional rulers, is to give out seeds for grains, including rice and maize, to beneficiaries in parts of the country. The traditional heads, who serve as a direct link to the people, are given certificates of allocation for the hybrid seeds, which are most relevant to their community's needs.
Nigeria has to move forward. And in order for us to move forward, we have to think about the masses, the citizens, the poor people, the orphans, the widows, the disadvantaged people. Those are the people that makes up the country, not just the 1% or the 5%.
The recipients are expected to plant and harvest the produce from the seeds for consumption. Women have been past beneficiaries of this gesture in times past, and it is now being expanded to reach more people.
We are going to target those that are in need, those that are really hungry, the orphans, the poor people that really needs the seeds. Those are the people that will get the seedlings first. Now, the Royal House or the Royal Highnesses, they have actually picked out the people that will receive these seeds when they get the seeds. So this seed will not be a political seed. I'm not a politician. I really don't care about the politics. All I care about saving lives.
Well, it will help a lot because, in this Nigeria, we probably need these kind of things, how to create a foundation to help diplomacies so that they can do their agriculture and gain from it back.
This time around, she has made it much better. And we in Man Chiefdom, we have decided to choose 2 items that we shall fight hunger with it, rice and maize.
The community leaders who are glad about this initiative are sure it will bring about the needed boost for agricultural development. These efforts are geared towards supporting the authorities in their various interventions aimed at ensuring food security in the country. Lara Folayan, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, despite the increase in global oil prices for the 3rd consecutive month, Nigeria's earnings from crude oil plunged about 75.9 billion naira in February and March this year. According to the latest data from the April 2022 monthly oil market report of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, shows that while the oil prices have been on the increase since January this year, Nigeria's crude oil production has been on the decrease. Report also shows that North Sea dated benchmark gained more than $20 per barrel on a monthly average, and WTI gained almost $17 per barrel on the back of escalating geopolitical tensions in the Eastern Europe and concerns that this might result in large oil supply shortages amid trade dislocations. However, despite the rise in global crude oil prices, Nigeria's earnings from the sale of commodity have been dropping due to the monthly plunge in its oil production. This indicates that a daily plunge of 35,000 barrels and translates to a total loss of 980,000 barrels of crude in February 2022. While the stock market opened its trading engines for business after the Easter holidays, but yet transactions closed in red. Effiong Jacob has detailed reports on markets.
Stock market investors withheld funds from key sectors and moved to stay on sales windows after the Easter holidays. A depressed market recorded negative activities that reduced stock prices and values on investments. The market index measuring movement of share prices dropped by 0.06% to underscore losses on investments. The low trades had huge negative effects on the shares of Academy Press, John Holt, Japo Gold, Nemeth Pharmaceuticals, and Pharmadeco. Meya Pence and Guinness made reasonable gains, just as Police Microfinance Bank, Cadbury, and Unilever improved values. More than 300 million units of shares with over 7 billion naira value were crossed during the trading hours. Outside Nigeria, stock market across Africa closed in mixed territories. Stock trading was negative in Kenya as the Nairobi Securities Exchange went down on the back of sales pressure. In South Africa, the JSE traded in green. The market recovered large grounds from previous losses as investors returned to the trading floor. Lastly, the stock market in Ghana closed negative. Investors lost huge values on shares. Effiong Jacob, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, Asian shares traded cautiously today with China's economic slowdown from COVID-19 lockdowns and prospect of aggressive Federal Reserve's monetary policy tightening, keeping markets on edge. Investors are also bracing for a barrage of earnings that will help them access the impact of Ukraine war and a spike in inflation on companies' financials. Netflix, Tesla, and Johnson & Johnson are all to report this week. Moscow has refocused its ground offensive in Ukraine's 2 eastern provinces, but Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky has vowed to fight on. European markets are set for a lower open, with the pan-region Euro Stock 50 futures losing 0.66%, FTSE down 0.01%, US stock futures with the S&P 500 E- were up 0.31%. MSI, broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside of Japan, was down 0.4%. Australia's S&P/ASX 200 edged up 0.56% as strong commodity prices lifted mining and energy stocks, while Japan's Nikkei rose 0.8%. China's Blue chip CSR 300 index was 0.49% lower in afternoon trade, while the Shanghai Composite Index fell 0.09% after the authorities vowed to support the economy hit by the worst COVID-19 outbreak in 2 years. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index fell 2.16%, pressured by slumping tech gains. Tech giants listed in the CTE amid China's latest regulatory crackdown on the sector. And oil prices on the international market rose today as investors fretted over tight global supply after Libya was forced to halt some exports and as factories in Shanghai prepared to reopen post the COVID-19 shutdown. Easing some demand worries, U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude recorded a price dip of 0.55% to hit $107.60 per barrel. Brent sells at $112.70, registering a downward price margin of 0.44%. Bonilla performance is waxing stronger with a price increase of 0.29% to sell at $107.10 per barrel. For the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $106.10, recording a price surge of 3.57%.